Hello, hello, Dynamite fans. Hello, Darkwing Duck fans. I hope you all are tuning in today. I'm sitting here with the awesome Roger Langridge, and we're talking all things Darkwing, all things Justice Ducks, because it's our last couple days of our Kickstarter for all of the Darkwing Duck collections. We're almost to our $300,000 stretch goal. So that'd be really cool. If anyone who hasn't checked it out yet, please go check it out. The link is in the description below. But let's get straight to business. Roger, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I'm very, very well. And even though it's a Monday, it's still going good so far.
Right, yeah, quite early in the morning for you. You're sort of getting going.
Not super early. It just became the afternoon over here.
Okay.
But still good. So, Darkwing Duck, Justice Ducks. How does it feel to be part of this Dynamite collection? Because it's your series, it's the Negaduck series, and our current newer series. How's it feel to be a part of it?
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't aware it was happening until I was told it was on. It's just took me by surprise. But okay, fine. I mean, I'm with a whole lot of really great creators, so that's good company to be in.
I want to tell everyone, when I talked to Tad Stoves recently, he was really impressed with how all of you guys did your takes on Darkwing, with Amanda on the regular series, Jeff on Negaduck, and you on Justice Ducks. He's really been impressed with everyone's work.
That's really good to hear. I mean, that's who you want to impress, really.
So I guess take me back to the beginning a little bit, like how you came on to Justice Ducks. Like, I know you've done stuff with Dynamite before, but how is it feeling? Like, hey, are you familiar with Darkwing? How do you feel about this series?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I was working on something else with the editor, Nate Cosby, and for various reasons that was delayed, and there was a big gap in my schedule. So he asked, because he knew I was into the Disney comics of Carl Barks and 60s sort of monster comics and Silver Age comics, things like that. So he asked me if I would be interested in doing Darkwing Duck, and I had I'd never seen it. I'd never seen the show. So I sort of did some homework, watched some episodes, particularly the relevant ones to Justice Ducks, where the characters originally appeared. Read some of the old comics and just basically tried to get up to speed. Submitted a few ideas. Got those sent back. Submitted some more ideas. Got those sent back. Finally, we came up with something that everybody liked. And off we went. But yeah, it was as I say, I'd always loved the Disney Ducks, particularly the Carl Barks versions of the Disney Ducks. So to actually get to write some Disney Ducks was one for the bucket list.
Nice. So Darkwing Duck specifically, did you because you weren't as familiar with that particular show, did you kind of get into it when you were doing your homework? Did you become a fan, and at least a little bit?
Oh, a little bit, yeah. I particularly enjoyed the character of Darkwing himself, because he does have that Donald Duck vibe of, being irascible and bad-tempered, but he's also got these contradictions. Donald tries to be a good parent at the same time as being a selfish, so-and-so. And Darkwing has that same sort of tension, which makes him a really interesting character to write, because he's got these contradictions and you have to sort of find ways to resolve them, or to motivate him to get out of his sort of bad-tempered area and into his acting nobly area kind of thing, which is a challenge for a writer, but it also makes it engaging to read, I think.
Was it a challenge writing for, because you're specifically writing the Justice Ducks, and those are multiple characters.
Yeah,
so is it a little trickier writing for a team?
I think so, yeah. You've got to find ways to keep all of the characters busy, and not just have any of them standing around in the background twiddling their thumbs, So just working out roles for all of them to have, so that they're not sort of nobody's a fifth wheel. That can be quite challenging, but with a bit of preparation and a bit of forethought, it seems to work out. Yeah.
Is there a favorite character to write for?
Again, I'd say Darkwing, just because, like I say, those contradictions make him a kind of meatier character than the rest of them. Although, they've all got their levels, they've all got their nuances. I think for example, Gizmo Duck's quite interesting because he has that same superhero thing that Darkwing has, but it's clearly an act in his way, in his case, in a way that it isn't for Darkwing. That's really him. Whereas Gizmo's putting it on because he expects he realizes that people have an expectation of him to behave in a certain way, so he puts that on to play the role, essentially. So there's that nuance going on. They've all got their own sort of quirks, really.
Another thing I've asked everyone who's done Darkwing, like, how do you're adapting to like a pre-existing material, and how do you balance it with writing something that's very specifically Disney, but also staying true to yourself?
Well, you're always looking for those bits in the Venn diagram where, your brief and your own interests sort of overlap. Yeah, I mean, I tried to write stories that were engaging to me, and drop in things that I was interested in. Like, for example, there's an episode where there's a sort of vaguely Doctor Who-ish character. And, I've been working for Doctor Who magazine for over 25 years. So, I was fairly familiar with that property. So that was, a way to make it interesting for me. The Silver Age angle is, a fun thing for me to play with because I love those old comics. And yeah, you're just constantly looking for ways to find bits where your interests and the requirements of the job overlap.
I wanted to show off like the latest issue. It's number 4.
That'd be yeah.
But Carlo Loro does the interior. Do you guys go back and forth on stuff? Like, do you know he's doing like your series? Like, how much of it do you know in advance?
Well, I was aware that he would be drawing it after I'd written a few already. I wasn't sure that he would be continuing from. I think he did the previous one, didn't he? The previous Darkwing run. But yeah, once I knew that he was on it, we didn't have a lot of communication. It was I would get sort of layouts once in a while, and basically I would just admire them and say, yeah, this is fantastic. His storytelling's really good. His design's fantastic. All the character stuff is there. There's very little to comment on. It's just nice to see my scripts being brought to life in such an accomplished way. Really, he's really good.
Do you pick up the books and you get? Is it almost kind of a surprise or not really? Because like, oh, this is almost as pretty close as what I pictured in my head when I was writing it.
It's more of an improvement, really. I mean, he's doing things with the layouts that I hadn't really anticipated and making it much more sort of eye-catching. And the character stuff, as I say, is always a surprise because he's always acting. He's always sort of adding an extra dimension and having the characters act out in a way that might not have been what I imagined, but it's usually an improvement. So yeah, I mean, it's a pleasant surprise every time.
Have you gotten good feedback from the Darkwing fans? Has anyone like reached out to you and say, "Oh my gosh, I love the Justice Sucks. You've done such a cool take on it." Like, have you heard?
Well, some of the promotion I've done for this has been like there was a Reddit thing that I did a few days ago that had various people sort of asking questions about it on the Darkwing forum that they have there. And they seemed happy. Yeah, I mean, I hope they're happy. But the ones I've heard from seem to be pretty pleased with it, which is nice to know. Maybe the ones who hate it are keeping their mouths shut. I don't know.
I don't think I've never seen a bad review for it yet. When I've been sharing, like in every interview, like I like each series, like it feels like it really does feel like it has its close relationship to the original show, and just reading it, like the show plays in your head.
That's great.
I think that's how effortlessly all of you guys. That's how good a job all of you guys have been doing. Like it's brand new Darkwing Duck. Like even though we're not watching it, like we can read it, we can touch it, and we can share it with everybody.
That's great. Great to hear.
And do you think you think this is a good way to get new readers onto Darkwing Duck?
Well, I'm hoping that it's a way to get sort of comic readers generally, really. the way I was approaching it is that every issue that I wrote it stands alone as a self-contained story, but there's also like a through line that gets resolved in the 5th issue. So it'll also be like a satisfying collection to read because there's this sort of thematic consistency and a story resolution. But as I say, each issue stands on its own. So, you know, it's a really good comic for just picking up randomly and getting into it that way without having to sort of be a hardcore fan or you know, be at the comic shop every Wednesday to make sure you don't miss one. If you do that too, that's great. You know, obviously we want to encourage that. But yeah, it's hopefully accessible to a casual reader as well as to a dedicated fan. So, you know, casting the net as broadly as possible.
How long? I'm not sure if I know this, but how long is this particular series? Do you know, or like were you asked to make it?
5, so
it's just 5.
Yeah, it'll be those 5 in the collection. That's part of the Kickstarter. I haven't been asked to do any more. If they do, who knows? Maybe. But
I hope they ask you to do more. I hope so. I want to read more. Because recently the Disney series have been some of my favorites to read, especially Darkwing. Because that was even though it was still a little earlier, it was still slightly before my time. Like catching the reruns and seeing how really how smart of a show it was. Because I think you mentioned like you were a fan of those things that Darkwing's parroting, right? Like the pulpy, old school.
Yeah, I didn't see the show when it first went out. I was a university student at the time, and I was sharing a flat, and we didn't have a television. So yeah, it totally passed me by first time round. So yeah, I've had to, as I say, do my homework and catch up on it sort of retroactively. But yeah, I mean, the things that it was influenced by, you know, the original Disney Duck stuff, Rage superhero stuff, and, you know, that kind of pulp. I mean, there's a big dollop of the Shadow in there, for example. Even his alter ego is on the Shadow's alter ego. So yeah, all of that stuff. I was, if I wasn't a huge fan of it, like the Shadow, I was aware of. I wasn't a huge fan, but I was aware of it. And it, you know, I had all that to draw on, I suppose.
Going back to Ducks, were you into DuckTales as well, or did that eventually come into your life, or
well,
just...
DuckTales? No, but the comics it was based on. I mean, I seem to be a fan of all the stuff that other things were based on. So the Carl Barks Uncle Scrooge comics were a really big thing for me. I basically learned how to read from Carl Barks Duck comics.
Oh wow!
It's my mother would take my brother and I on long car journeys when we were little, and if we were sort of squabbling in the back seat, she'd throw some Disney comics at us to shut us up. And, that's basically how I learned to read. So yeah, I mean, it's been a part of my life since as long as I can remember, really. Those comics. So yeah, I mean that DuckTales element is, you know, all of those shows were based. A lot of them were based on specific Carl Barks stories. So yeah, I'm very familiar with the source material. Put it that way.
Because now we're leaning on cartoons. Would you say you had a favorite cartoon growing up, or that influenced your writing, or?
I didn't watch a whole lot of cartoons. I mean, I watched the things I was really into were Looney Tunes and Tex Avery, the theatrical shorts from the 40s and 50s. They were my big cartoon sort of loves. I didn't watch a whole lot of TV. And the stuff that I was watching when I was little wasn't very good. There was the sort of early 70s Hanna-Barbera stuff was, not so great. So yeah, I didn't really get into animated cartoons or TV cartoons at least. The really good stuff sort of happened when I was an adult. You know, The Simpsons and things happened when I was an adult. So I sort of watched those as an adult. I didn't have that kind of nostalgic connection to them. So yeah, comic books were my jam really, and comedy generally. I was a big fan of sort of stand-up comedy and sitcoms. I was a big fan of things like Blackadder and Fawlty Towers and
That's cool.
things like that. So, you know, that's all in the mix. It's all part of what goes into what I write, I guess.
I like that though. I like hearing the personal side, and it's always interesting, like how you get from one place to the next. Like, what do you out of any series that you've written, what do you think you're most proud of out of any for right now? Any series you've written?
My go-to answer for this is a series that I self-published in the early 2000s called Fred the Clown, which is he's sort of a clown visually, but really he's more of a silent comedy clown. He's more of a Buster Keaton kind of character. Yeah, there's no continuity to it. All of the stories are self-contained, and the style often switches between stories. It's whatever the story demands. So, for example, I might do something that's a pastiche of an old penny dreadful, or an old newspaper strip from the 1930s, or a silent film, or a board game. I mean, I just, did all these different things. Yeah. And with a hopefully with a heart at the center of it. It was often about Fred's attempts to find meaning and love in the world. So that was, I think that's still the thing I'm proudest of. That it's I sort of put everything into that. It's where I think I found my voice as an author, really.
That's really, really cool. I think that's all I had for today. I didn't know if anyone out there had a question for Roger, if Roger wanted to say anything, share anything with our audience, if about anything upcoming or anything Darkwing related.
I've got a few upcoming things. I don't know how many of them are available in the US. I'm doing some stuff for an anthology in the UK called Monster Fun, cool. Which is, I've got a regular series in that called Sally Astro. It's about a girl alien who's come to Earth and gets into all sorts of scrapes. I'm writing a series called Pandora Perfect for the Judge Dredd magazine at the moment, which is sort of what if Mary Poppins was a con artist. And she's got like a robot sidekick, and yeah, it's a humorous thing. It was originally drawn by Brett Parson, who was drawing Tank Girl for a while, but he's doing something else at the moment. So we've got a new artist on it called Gary Welsh, who's very good. I've just seen some of the third episode that he sent me the artwork for, and it's looking great. I've got a book coming out from First Second Books in October called The Prohibition Era. It's part of their history line, so it's an educational book, but it's quite fun, It's written by Jason Viola and drawn by me. And that's, as I say, coming out in October. And I do a web strip most days, which is, well, if you follow me on Instagram at Hotel Fred, you can see it there.
Awesome.
I think everything.
All right. Sorry, I had a brain freeze for a second. I'm like, wait, my next sentence is going to be... I'm buffering. But again, I just wanted to say huge thank you to you, Roger, for taking the time out to chat with me today. Thank you, Roger Stuff. Check out Justice Ducks. Check out the Kickstarter if you haven't already. And thank you to everyone who's pledged so far. So, thank you to everyone. I hope everyone has a great day. Roger, I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
And we'll see everyone soon. All right.